Is it wrong to say I told you so? We just got the biggest correction from our labor market data. Now, here's what's happened. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics has come out with a report that says they were wrong. We were off by about 818,000 jobs. That's right. Over the last 12 months, they were wrong in how they were reporting jobs, and they're off by 818,000 jobs. Now, this is your first time on the channel. My name is Jason Roberts, and I'm a recruiter, and I've been a recruiter for 25 years. We're going to spend the next few minutes dissecting why it's such a big freaking deal that these guys were wrong, why it's such a big I told you so from me. Stick with me. Before we dive into this, do me a big favor, hit that like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can see content like this anytime it comes out. Here's why this is a giant I told you so. Most of you, a big chunk of you, found me from a few videos that I did saying, this doesn't feel right. The job market feels way tighter than the data is saying it is. The data is saying there's lots of jobs, but it's not feeling like there's lots of jobs. If you look at Indeed's reporting, Indeed's reports showed sharp declines in jobs, and they're getting everybody's job, not just people who pay them for jobs. They've got all the data. So how is it that we kept adding jobs while everything around us is saying that we're decreasing jobs? And the answer is this. The answer is that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics turns out isn't really great at statistics about labor. And not only are they not great about statistics about labor, they've been revising downward their jobs report every month already. We already were seeing reports where they would say, oh, we added 200,000 jobs. Then the next month, make that 120,000. I think it was something like 8 out of the last 12 months. And then again, they come back and they say, oh, we were wrong. We're going to take this down by 818,000 jobs. Here's what a big deal this is. There are a total of 2.9 million jobs added over that 12-month period. They revised that down to 2.1 million. They reduced it by 818,000, correct? Right. That's 38%. 38%. Over a third wrong in this. So, thank you, Bureau of Labor and Statistics. You have just validated that what we felt, what we saw in all the other places, that was correct. This is a terrible job market. And the people looking for jobs, they've known the whole time. We all knew it was a bad job market. I'm feeling pretty validated today. Now, it doesn't change the fact that if it's hard to find a freaking job today, it's still hard to find a freaking job tomorrow. That is not changed. In fact, we're seeing unemployment on the rise, which, don't believe those numbers anyway, but they can't hide it anymore. What I think has been happening is every administration, whether you're on the left or on the right, every administration, it's in their best interest while they're in power to make those numbers look as good as they can. My conspiracy theory hat is fully on right now, and I think that they couldn't keep this swept under the rug quite long enough. They almost made it. They released this report in August, but they didn't quite make it till after November when they could really let the truth out and be fine. Oh well. I don't think this is just a current administration problem. They just happen to be the culprits that I get to say I told you to so right now. What does this mean for you? If you're looking for a job, what do you do given that you know it's harder to find a job? Here's the first thing to know. This hasn't changed anything. This is old news. They're revising backwards. So it doesn't mean that it's harder tomorrow than it was today. It just means it always sucked. And they're just agreeing that, yeah, we think it sucks. Perfect. Thanks for letting us know. And now we do. So we all know that it sucks. And here's what we're going to do about it. 1, it takes more job applications than it's ever taken in order to find a job. In order to do that, you've got to stay on it. 200 applications for a hire. When you apply for a job, you have a 3.8% chance to get an interview. Out of that, 1 out of 10 will go on to an offer. All right. Ultimately, that's about 200 applications in order to make your way through and get hired. Just know you're not alone. If it feels like you're applying to jobs and shouting into the wind, it's not just you. Everybody feels this. This is everybody's problem. And you just have to be persistent. Persistence is the key. That's the second thing. You've got to be undeniable. Here's how you're undeniable. The way that you become undeniable is you go find a person to talk to. Now, the easiest way to do that, if you happen to be lucky enough or have a long enough career so that you have a network, you leverage that network. That's the best way to find a job. You get on LinkedIn, you connect with your friends, you move yourself forward in that way. People you've worked with in the past, hopefully you have a great reputation. You leverage that reputation. You use that for everything it's worth in order to get a job today. The second thing that everybody can do, whether you have a good network or not, the second thing is you have to hunt down that hiring manager. Here's how you do it. You look at the job posting. Inside the job posting, there's little clues. This job reports to this person. It sits in this group. You can then use LinkedIn to be a bit of a detective. You can find out, who's the head of this department? Who's in that group? You can go in and kind of investigate a little bit. LinkedIn even helps you. They're like, people in this company, people who look at this profile also looked at these other 2 profiles, other people who work there. And you start looking for people who are connected, who know each other. And LinkedIn sort of helps form that for you a little bit. There's a video here where I give you all the details. I share a screen on exactly how to do that. I beg you, take a look at this video. It is your best possible chance to get your foot in the door. Then once you start interviewing, you've got to go with a completely different method than you've ever seen before. First step, know how to tell your story in a succinct way. Second step, leverage each interview to prep for the next interview. Here's what that looks like. You talk to the recruiter. You have a good interview with that recruiter, and you say, all right, what are the next steps? The next steps, by the way, that's a question you should ask at the end of every interview. What are the next steps? What are the next steps? And they'll talk about, you would talk to the hiring manager. You would talk to this group, that group. Perfect. The next step is almost always talk to the hiring manager, by the way. So if you're talking to the hiring manager next, say, well, what do you think they're going to want to see? What are they really talking to you about? I know it's in the job description, but surely there's something that they've emphasized, something that's important. And this is your way of gathering intel. So everything they tell you is important. Everything that's there, that's for you to use in that next interview. And guess what you do then? You meet with the hiring manager and you have that sort of in your back pocket. Remember, nobody takes a training. Nobody knows how to interview. They're terrible at it. Everybody's bad at interviewing, except for some of us. But that's what I do for a living, right? So people are terrible at interviewing. So you can sort of take control of the interview if you do it right, where you can stop the looking at each other and trying to figure out what to talk about. They'll ask you, tell me about yourself, or what have you done in the past, or one of those things. You can tell your story there. And I will be ready with a story. But then that's where you get to take control. You look for an opening to say, have you ever had a problem with this thing? Which you know they have a problem with because the recruiter's already said that this is the thing that they care about the most, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that is a problem for me. Well, perfect. Here's how I've dealt with that problem in the past. That happens to be a specialty of mine. I'm really good at solving that problem. And hopefully you are. Hopefully that's a true thing. Now, at the end of that hiring manager interview, here's the trick. End of the hiring manager interview, your next step is to go and say, what are the next steps in the process? Again, it's the key question. Next steps in the process. I'm going to have you talk to my head of who's-y what's-its and the widget builder and the HR director and the whoever the heck they're going to have you talk to. And you start down that list. What does the head of who's-y what's-its care about? I don't know what a who's-y or a what's-it is, but let's talk about that. And you get a feel for what they care about, how you can help them. And you do the same thing when you interview with them. Because, again, they're going to be terrible at interviewing because everybody is terrible at interviewing. Take it from a person who has been recruiting for 25 years. Everybody is bad at freaking interviewing. Here's what I want to offer to you. There's a couple of links that I've already given you. There's a video that I would like to send you to. I have a template that you can use for your resume that will get you past the ATS. Hopefully it'll speed things up for you. And then when we talk about customizing your resume for applications, you got to do it 200 times. ChatGPT is the best way I know to do that. Make that happen. What I've done for you is I've already pre-written the prompts that make that easy for you. You just paste those in. All this is free, by the way. I don't charge for any of this stuff. Don't give up. It's way harder than it used to be. It's way harder than it used to be. But now we're validated. Now we all know that we weren't crazy. It was freaking hard to find a job. Awesome. Now we can go forward. Now we can find a job. Now we can do it as a validated group that says, here we go. We're going to make this happen. All right. I wish you the very best of luck in your job search. See you next time.